everybody, you're listening to and watching the Comic Book Bears podcast. I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
And I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
And we are your hairy, heavy homos that talk about comic books, but you don't have to be a hairy, heavy homo to listen in, or in this case, stream in. Sorry for being a few minutes late. We were just working out some tech glitches, but we're very happy to be back with you after a 2-week absence. And we're heading into another 2-week absence, but it's all for good causes.
Actually, will we have an absence, or maybe we might have like a very special, like very quick thing?
Well, we won't have a Thursday live stream. We won't have a Thursday.
Yeah, we won't have the Thursday live.
We won't have a Thursday live stream next week, but we will have something for you because some of us are going to be in the actual presence of each other coming up next week.
Soon.
Yes.
Next
week. If you are going to Baltimore Comic-Con, you will be able to see the two of us. And we're going to be at the show with our good friend John Runyon of a Comic Book Look podcast. And we're getting in touch with a bunch of other people that we're hoping to run into and hang out with and all that sort of good stuff. It's been my first Baltimore in 3 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound about right? Yeah, it was 2018. Yeah, because we were at Heroes Together in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last time. So
yeah, we actually already have a couple people joining us tonight. So we've got John Westhoff giving us the horns. Hey John, and we've also got David Toby Sultry Boys.
Yes.
Hey boys.
Okay.
Also, since we have Mr. Westhoff tuning in with us, please check out his Kickstarter for Depowered.
Yes.
And I contributed to that. I hope you two gentlemen did. And he's in the last week of the Kickstarter. So any further interest in it, hope you guys can, type it in and check it over. We'll provide a link before the campaign is over.
Yep.
On that. So we're talking about Baltimore in the future, but New York Comic-Con is in the very recent past. And someone went.
What was it? You, Caleb? Did you go?
No.
Oh, and it wasn't me. Who else could have gone?
So here we go. Again, another pro pass. Thank you very much, Reed. I was not expecting to qualify for that with as much cutbacks as they had. It was a much smaller version of New York Comic-Con this year. Just going to cough. Hold on a second.
While you cough, we have another person.
Hey, Joy.
Yaspa.
Joy. Hey, Jay.
I said Jay. Did you call him Joy?
I did call him Joy.
Joy.
Who cares?
Jay.
Who cares?
Hi, Jay. Thanks for
joining. Who cares? That's my very brief Joy Behar imitation. But I went to New York Comic-Con. I went to 3 of the 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
It ran from Thursday, October 7th to Sunday, October 9th. It was a much more scaled down version of the show. Some of that is because of the limitations that were put on the facility, the Javits Center, which is actually a state operated facility. So if anybody's going to adhere to New York State COVID policies, it's an institution like that. And you did not get the big publishers there. DC was not there. Marvel was not there. Dark Horse was not there. Image was not there. You had Viz. You had Yen Press. You had Source Point. You had Mad Cave. You had Zenoscope and Aftershock. And that's about it for comic book publishers of some, respectable tier. Were there, but it was still. I have to give my my deep thanks to Reed because they did pull it off. They still pulled off a big show. It's and Artist Alley was just as big as it usually is. The panels were very much non-comic. I went to the one major panel, which was about as big as you can get into a significant property, which was the Sandman Audible panel. if you did notice, though, some of those were effectively virtual panels that were just broadcast and some of the bigger things, but we did have people live. I did see William Shatner just 5 days before he went off into outer space. I did see George Takei live. I did see the panel with the cast of Star Trek Discovery when they released the trailer. So they were there in person. I did not go on Sunday. My friend Karen did and was like texting me everything about the what we do in the shadows. But as you can see, some of the names I'm throwing at you, these are not comic book names. But you work with what you can. One of the most fun aspects was the Doom Patrol Carnival that they had, and if you see the shirt that I'm wearing here, this was a T-shirt. You couldn't buy it; you had to win it. So,
what did you have to do to win it?
I answered a trivia question right.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Do you want to hear what the trivia question was?
Yeah.
In the comic books, who was Rita's husband?
I got nothing.
Comics?
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Who was Rita Farr's husband? And that was Mento.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Huh. Very funny.
So I got this from a drag queen.
Nice.
And I know, and they had other prizes inside. And Steve, I know you're like the huge fan of those enamel pins. And I did get a Larry.
Oh.
And I did get a Rita.
Oh.
So those are cool. And our friend Chris Collins got Doom Patrol Silly Putty. So that was pretty cool. Right next to it, they did have a Sandman setup. They had a Chucky, the upcoming Chucky movie, and they were giving away free ice cream, and apparently the ice cream was really good. I don't know what that has to do with Chucky, but it wasn't like an extensive get show. I did get a number of older comics, which you usually don't at New York Comic Con, just because it's such a pain in the neck to travel, to walk around with that, and it's usually reserved for Baltimore. Baltimore tends to be my big shopping show because I have the car with me and I can just throw it in there. But I did get some stuff, so when we talk about our geek gets, I have a couple things to show.
Awesome.
Didn't run into a number of people I was hoping to run into, but did see some past guests, and I'll talk about that in when we talk about our gets. But I was very happy that they were able to pull a big show off. I got very frustrated with myself because come midday Sunday, my feet were just giving out, and went home. And the initial plan was to see how I was doing, and then maybe go back in for a day on the Sunday. But come Saturday night, there was just no way in hell that was happening. And I kind of had a little mini breakdown as you guys were online with me when that happened, because I'm getting old. But it was also, a watershed moment for me, because Baltimore has to be my last con as a fat boy. I physically can't do it. And I love going to these events so much. And, it's in some ways it's self-punishment, and, I got nothing to punish myself over. So it's, I just got so frustrated because, I was doing so well in the yoga and doing well in some other stuff. And then you just get lazy. There's no other word for it. And, it's just time. Sometimes you have like these beacons in your life where, like the lights may as well just be flashing, make a change. And this was it. On the train ride home was the moment for me where it's just, I can't do this. I can't, my feet are killing me. And it's all because of the weight I'm carrying. So it's just time. Not to bum it out. This is actually a positive development, that I have this resolved. So, but hey, it was New York Comic Con. That was the most impressive thing about it. Yes, it was smaller. Yes, the content was not what you become used to it. Whether want is even come into it. But I'm really glad I went, and I'm really glad it happened.
Cool.
So, yeah,
it's really glad. I'm just really glad that it could happen this year, and it actually, it ends up being the biggest live show. Obviously there's still stuff for San Diego Comic-Con, but it wasn't a live show, or at least not the same type of live show. So we do have a couple other people who joined us. Schiffhund1 over on the Twitch side. Hi. Hello, Schiffhund1.
Hello.
Thank you for joining. David mentioned Mento. Yes.
Yes,
to the
Mento.
question, who is Rita Farr's husband in the comics. But yeah, I mean, I'm just really excited that there was a New York Comic Con, that they were still able to do it and still able to pull it off. Although I am disappointed by the fact that there wasn't really much of a presence of the big publishers, because even Image usually has a huge presence there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just kind of surprising that they wouldn't have at least tried to do something. Maybe not, you know, a big, like, you know, giant, massive section, giving away 50 billion free things or whatever, or haircuts like they were doing the one year I went with you.
Yeah.
So we
were talking about that. Of the major publishers, DC had the biggest backdoor presence. I did go to a panel which initially was supposed to have Joshua Williamson at it, but did have Philip. I always get the name Kennedy, the current writer of Superman. Philip Kennedy Johnson and Stephanie Phillips, and they went over what they were planning to do as much as they could talk about. And then I went to the tribute to John Pauleon, the artist that recently passed away. And oh my God, there was one commission they showed of Batman beating up a perp on an elevated subway track. And when they went into his art studio after he passed away, they found he used 147 pieces of photo reference for it. Now, his photo reference, we're not talking Greg Land. There's no tracing. You know, he takes the elements of what he saw. His brother was part of the panel, Alex Leon. Hot. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. You just see the salt and pepper beard and just enough of a Cuban accent to, be present, for someone who's lived here since they were 4, I was entertained on another level. But seeing some of his artwork in these legendary pages called the Superman pages, where this is what he used to pitch work when he was at SVA. He got his first assignments from major publishers before he had graduated from the School of Visual Arts. This is how damn good he was. It was Bernard Chang hosted the panel, and he and Bernard knew each other since high school in Miami. So, these were people who knew him intimately, that were involved. And I was very glad I went to that. Very glad. And just some of the, like I said, what they call the Superman pages, he provided an 8-page story, and Superman doesn't even appear until page 3, but those first 2 pages, it's clear it's amazing. I mean, he was an amazing storyteller.
Yep.
And again, just real glad I went to that one.
Awesome.
So I know you said that the crowd was sparse and there wasn't the presence of other publishers and stuff, but so I've spoken to some friends of ours and you who have gone. They actually said it was kind of refreshing that it was
yes.
That
way,
yes. You could make your way from one end of the hall to the other, and it didn't take you an hour. You weren't shoulder to shoulder when you were digging through back issues. It was almost like you got the benefit of it being New York Comic Con with just kind of it without the presence of all.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It was just
the worst experience at a con is like the dead stop right in front of you, and I did not experience that until about 1:00 on Saturday.
Yeah.
And nobody was a jerk at the check-ins for the vaccines. You had to show proof of vaccination to enter the con, and they gave you. Do I still have it here? They gave you like a little badge, a little bracelet. Don't have it here. I just thought maybe I'd show it. Like, this is the bracelet that I wore for 3 days. But in terms of that aspect of your experience, I'd be very happy if that happens again like that.
Yeah.
if people are veterans of New York Comic Con, it very much felt like in the past when Thursday would only for pros, press, and 4-day. No one else could get into the Thursday before they sold it to the general public. That's what it was like for Thursday and Friday. Yeah, it was good.
That's usually kind of like what a Thursday or Friday kind of con feels like. Even a big con, like you do have that. Well, not always, but you do have the fact that most people are going to save, like the general public is going to save their attendance until Saturday and then Sunday to get all the good deals. But like Friday, Thursday, a little bit quieter, maybe not empty, but like movable, like something that you can actually get through and get to where you want to go.
Yeah. And New York is such a big con that, like even with a 4-day experience, you can rarely hit everything you want to hit. Yeah. Some of that is time issues with something being programmed against another, but this one felt very different. Yeah, really, especially Artist Alley. I mean, it was still as big, but again, there weren't as many people crowding the aisles, and I imagine that if Artist Alley was your show, because for a lot of people and some people we know, Caleb, that's their show. Right. That's the entirety of their show effectively. And
what I just imagine that was a good experience. What I've been hearing, and part of the good thing about that is, it was just as big as far as many people set up, but we go to these cons all the time, and a lot of times it's the same big names in Artist Alley year after year selling similar stuff. They actually were able to open it up to a lot of to put a lot of people that are unpublished or unknown or just are known inside just the art community. They were actually able to get them in Artist Alley where normally they wouldn't be, and that was a great deal for those folks. And for folks like us, we are blessed, I should say. I guess that's the way you put it, to know so many people in the industry that when we go to these cons, I can't speak for everybody, but my favorite part is just walking around and talking to people that I know. Like go to a con, I'll find Kelly Williams and hang out with him for a little bit. You go up to Scotty Young and chat with him. And you actually spend some FaceTime with these guys. Yeah. And Thursdays and Fridays are the best parts for that because, like you said, it's not crowded. You don't have the extensive lines, and you actually get some one-on-one time with these people that are legitimate friends of ours. Yeah. That we don't get to see but once or twice a year. Yeah. And so
And just as you said, for me, I spent almost all of Thursday night hanging with Richard Rivera of Scout Comics. So it's always good to do that.
Yay, Rich! Oh, and we've also got another person just joined, Tony Gilkinson.
Hey, Tony.
Handsome Bears. Hey, Tony.
Tony is the artistic director of a theater in Florida, and they're doing the Toxic Avenger musical, and the graphics that they're releasing, it's so good. You okay there, Steve?
I'm just sort of like I'm geeking out. I really want to see it now.
So he was showing me, and what they're doing is they're doing a what they call in the theater a ravel. I don't know why they don't call it an unravel, but they're posting certain images each day, building up to something, and it just looks really good. And we had a really nice conversation about that. Yeah,
that's awesome. That is really cool. Untraditional. I should say like non-traditional stage shows. To me, just like they just awaken the ridiculous geek in me super big. Yeah. Like Evil Dead the musical to me was that was a blast. Oh, literally, because if you're anywhere close to the stage, you get covered in red. But it's two
of the best musical experiences I had were the musicals based on Showgirls, and the songs. Oh my God, we're fucking underwater like a father fucks a daughter. I mean, you would like your mouth would be like wide open at some of these lyrics, and oh my God. And this one has had a bit more life. Silence, the Silence of the Lamb musical. I mean, some of the oh my God. The best image, after Lecter kills that guard and he's splayed like this. So he's
wearing and he's back in the thing wearing the face.
Underneath him, they had streamers that said "Lordy, Lordy, Judy's 40." It was funny. dying. And some of the actress who played Clarice just had such an overbroad accent. What about you, Dr. Lecter? What do you see when you look inside yourself? I mean, and it's like these shows, I just wish everybody could see them. They were so much fun.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. Evil Dead, we had a really awful lead in the production that I saw, but the fun of the show came through. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, like the huge sing-alongs, or even the deer head on the wall singing. Like it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just one of those fun things where it's like this. I would never have thought that somebody would turn that into theater and like a stage production and make it just amazing and fun. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we transition to some of our geek gets? Let me go first because there is the tie into New York Comic Con. I mostly got back issues, as I said, but me with the esoteric stuff, I grab it. This usually sells for about $40. I got it for $10, and it's the first paperback of the House of Mystery. These are prose stories from the 70s DC horror comic with, and these are the only time these have been printed. They've never been reprinted, with these interstitial art by Bernie Wrightson. So this is it was one of those things like 10 mine,
For those things. So basically what they do is they take the stories that were in the comics and then just turn them into prose
adapt
stories?
them to prose stories. Yes.
Okay.
And there's two volumes of it, and they usually go for about $40 a piece, and I got that for $10. Just some of the gets that I got in Prowling. I got finally got a hard copy of The Fuhrer and the Tramp from our former guest Sean McArdle, and he was at the Source Point booth, and he sold out again. It's like another show in a row where he sold out of the thing he's promoting.
I mean, it's a great book. It's a great book.
It's a great book.
I'm glad that he's able to get enough. A lot of other people.
My friend Keith Dallas, he has his first comic book project, The Magellan, with art by Don Kramer, and they had a preview book, so I grabbed that, and they're going to be on the show a little bit closer to the Kickstarter. Whether you guys like it or not, they're coming on.
We will like it.
And I actually, another thing I want to show is something I didn't get for myself, but I got for Steve's husband. And that is an original print of Delirium by Janet Leigh. Yeah. So this will be going with me to...
And that's not a print, that's her original.
This is an original, yeah.
Yeah, that's her piece.
Beautiful work.
Gorgeous.
I can see when I looked at this in person, I was like, I can see why Jason wanted this so badly. And
she ended up doing another commission similar to that on Saturday or Sunday. And we don't think it was good.
God, that's good to hear. And then last night I went to see the British band Idols at the Fillmore in Philadelphia, and I trying to figure out if it's the first or second time I've been to the venue, because they have a venue that's very similar in the area, which used to be known as the Electric Factory. And, if you're a fan of bootlegs, you would know that name. But it was an awesome show. It was so good. It was the kind of show that if I was 15 years old, I would have wanted to, start a band the next day. And Caleb and I are waxing about vinyl, and I got the album before the last album, which is Joy as an Act of Resistance. This is the one I highly recommend. This is the sound of confused youth in England and Brexit. And then I got what's been the most recent album, which is Ultramono, with the dude that kind of looks like me there with a balloon. They have a new album coming out on November 11th, I think. Only did one song from it, so I was kind of expecting there would be a preview of the album, but the lead singer he's like the opposite of a Mockney. You guys know Mockney, right? Like artists like Blur, or who's that? Who was Madonna's ex-husband? The filmmaker
Guy Ritchie.
These guys that put on, "Oh, you doing?" where they actually came from a far more upper crust.
Where they're like super posh.
Yeah,
right.
I'm from Slough.
North and Paul shows. Yeah, they're the opposite. They're like distinctly working class, but very well educated. So it's a very interesting balance. The lead singer and the bass player, they're both openly bisexual, which is another attraction, I have to say, because some of the lyrics hit to the heart of nonconformist sexuality. And just in terms of their politics, their mindset's like all in the right space, And if you've never heard of them, please check them out. But that's some of my gets there.
Awesome.
Nice.
Nice. I guess I've got some gets, but my gets are so pedestrian and so goofy and so essentially Bill's fault. Because I shouldn't have said that while you were drinking. Sometimes I'll go, we'll talk about like, what McDonald's toys are out. And sometimes if they're cool, like I'll go and I'll pick some up too. Although usually when I go, I don't know what it is, but the McDonald's that's near me, if it's a Marvel movie, if it's anything else, I tend to get Scooby-Doo toys. I don't know why, but it's like they always have them on hand. They're like, we got rid of, we're out of Black Widow, have Scoob. It's just sort of like, okay, thanks. But thankfully,
they must see you coming. I just have this vision of it's that guy again.
I have a Steve.
Like, just give him the stupid Fred that we've been saving for him. Maybe he won't come back. But right now, Disney and McDonald's, long time toy partnership for their Happy Meal toys. They have started for the 50th anniversary of Disney World, putting out these really cool sort of diorama pieces, essentially. So you just put them together. They've got a little hologram on the back, and then they have different characters that represent different Disney productions and Disney properties, and the part of Disney World where they're represented. So here we've got Dory and it's Animal Kingdom, and then we've also got and they're all color coded too. So green for Animal Kingdom. You've got the Magic Kingdom here. Here's the Mad Hatter with the Magic Kingdom. Most of the ones that I have are Magic Kingdom, but I've got the Genie. Here's Winnie the Pooh, who everybody loves, and then Dale, who most people don't want to be compared to. But I've got I've got a good number of them. I actually ended up getting a couple doubles, so Bill is going to end up with those when I see him next week. But they're actually pretty cool. There's 50. There's a total of 50 different ones. Oh, you got Timon there. I think that's Timon. Oh, mute. You're muted.
Damn, I was really charming too. So anyway, this is headed Caleb's way because he appreciated it when I posted it, and he doesn't even have to wait for the will for me to kick the bucket. So that's next time that there is a care package going out to Arkansas, this will be part of it.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Hey, Lion King's my favorite. I love that. Yeah.
They do have Marvel and Star Wars themed ones. You can get a BB-8. They also have.
Well, let's not say that you can get one. Let's just say that they're part of the assortment. If you go on eBay, you'll understand.
Yeah, there's 50. There's a variety of 50 different kinds. Again, geography, what people have, it's all going to vary from where you are. So you might end up, everybody ends up with Dale, in like Pittsburgh. I don't know, but it's just, it's kind of cool. I like it. I'm not a huge collector of McDonald's toys, but I do like getting the ones that are fun. I've got some Star Wars ones back there, the really weird carabiner pop-up ones. And I've had a whole bunch of other different ones throughout the years. So, but yeah, those were my gets this past week.
Nice.
Had to have McDonald's a lot.
Chicky Nuggies.
Chicky Nuggies.
So I joined Bill on the concert parade this past week. The Hubs and I went and saw Joe Bonamassa in concert, who I'm a big fan of. He's a blues rock guitarist. I absolutely adore him. Fairly certain we were the youngest people in the crowd. It was an older crowd. We walked in and like people just kind of turned around and looked at us like, "Oh, you're lost, child." But we weren't. We were where we were supposed to be. They didn't have any vinyl. I was upset. I was mad. It hurt my heart.
That hurts me because like where else are you gonna find it in some cases?
That's like I can't find anywhere. So no Joe Bonamassa vinyl. I did buy a mug, which I don't have with me. It's not up here. But the reason that we went to the concert was because I haven't been to a concert since Corona, and I miss it. Big music fan, but also Sunday was my birthday, so I survived another year. Fun times. And that leads me to my special gets. And these are not usual, but my beloved husband came through and got me the Sandman Omnibuses 2 and 3. I already have the first one. Just for those of you who freaked out for a second. No, I didn't have the first one.
You can't read them then. You're not allowed to read them yet.
So he got me the second and the third one because he is amazing. And yeah, those are my main gets this week, was just kind of birthday stuff. Got to listen to some really great music.
Awesome. Also, there was a giveaway that's everybody can participate in from New York Comic Con. If you go to the back pages, and this ties in with Caleb, the back covers of some of the current DC comics has the information for you. They are providing the first season of Sandman for free from Audible.
Nice.
So if you want to listen
I did
to that,
see that.
Yeah, I have a card over there, but you can also get it on the back of some of the DC comics. Yeah,
and absolutely.
My
precious. If you have not heard, precious. And if you have not heard the first season of Sandman Audible, it is absolutely great. If you love radio dramas, if that tickles your fancy, definitely it is going to tickle you a lot. The second season did just drop a couple weeks ago. And it's just, again, more of the same. It's the next 2 volumes, if you are reading them in order of the Sandman series. So yeah.
The person who's been directing the Sandman audio series is Derek Maggs. Dirk Maggs, and I have CDs of the ones he did in the 90s of the Death of Superman and the Nightfall.
I love that you would just have that right there. Like,
I know they were like right there.
Move like 4 feet. You just kind of had them there.
Yeah,
that's
also rare because usually when
sitting
I'm
there for 20 years,
like this moment, it's like because you don't know how bad this is. You don't know how bad this is. I mean, when we were talking about the Crow soundtrack the other week, I was like, I'm not even gonna try.
Oh, it's right there. I see it right over your right shoulder, up about 30. Yeah, it's right there. Yeah. We did have Mr. John Runyon did just join. So
hey, John.
There's Assemble. Hey, John, we'll see you next week.
Yes.
And David Toby, of course, those omnibuses.
Yeah. With 3, is that the complete collection?
It should be, as far as I know. I haven't seen a 4th volume.
Okay.
I'll know for sure when I crack it open, but I think it is. I hope it is, because those things are hefty and take up a lot of space.
I don't think there's too much stuff that falls outside of the actual series. There is the Sandman Mystery Theater, which is where he teams up with Wesley Dodds, and there's a couple and they just kept it to game and written stuff. So I do think you'll have like a few odds and ends, but it pretty much is the series.
Well, and
you might have Dream Hunters.
Dream Hunters. And I guess Overture is not part of it.
That's what I was going to say. Sandman Overture, the J.H. Williams stuff, that'll be outside of it. But I can get a hardcover of that fairly easy.
Yeah.
So, and it's gorgeous. So why would I not want to?
And total weird recommendation, and I should probably. You know what? I'll save it for the Wolves.
Okay, I'm saving it for the Wolves.
It's related, but I'll save it for the Wolves.
Okay. Well, we are an LGBT plus community oriented podcast, and we have to talk about this. The biggest piece of news this week was the reveal that Jonathan Kent, the current Superman on Earth, is bisexual, and that's explored in the November issue. I don't know who wants to take the lead on this, but Steve, you were championing a particular phrase, the shriekosphere, getting their panties in a bundle over this. So I'm handing it over to you. Hell with it.
So I like, and of course, like this is going to be one of those situations where, of course, it's made for massive mainstream media backlash, right wing backlash, because of the tagline. The tagline is Superman is bisexual. And when you have something that's without any kind of qualifier saying the current Superman in DC Comics, who is Jonathan Kent, son of Kal-El and Lois Lane, is bisexual, the only thing that people are thinking about who have no idea or immediately are triggered by everything that's even remotely like, will immediately jump on this idea and say, there's no way that Superman, once played by Christopher Reeves, it would ever be a bisexual man. Like, that's just totally against it. And this is clearly pandering, or this is clearly like perversion or whatever. And in fact, inevitably there were those immediate backlashes that didn't look at the actual truth of it, that only looked at that, that simplified, New York Daily News style, like New York Post style, like,
Superman by.
And even Dean Cain, of course, they dusted his sorry ass off and had him talk about how it's not brave, it's not bold, it's just stupid bandwagon crap, and obviously my Superman would never be bi. And it's like, well, it's not your Superman. It doesn't belong to anybody, really. And also the concept doesn't really belong to anybody. But at the same time, this is not Clark Kent, Kal-El Superman. This is his son. So put that away and then look at what his son is representing, or what they're putting, what Tom Taylor is writing here for his son, for the character. And I think that it was very well done. If you've been reading Superman Son of Kal-El, which is an excellent book that everybody should be reading, it's amazing, it's very well done, the art's gorgeous. It positions Jonathan Kent, if you haven't been following his evolution in the other Superman titles, if you hadn't read the Legion of Superheroes series from last year, to understand that this is no longer the little kid Superboy Jonathan Kent. This is a young man who has grown up through the magic of comics and interspatial travel with his grandfather, who's not dead. Anyway, this is a young man. He's older. He's like 18, 19, I think now.
17, 18.
And his 17, 18, kind of like on that cusp of adulthood. And is taking the mantle of Superman in the stories, because his father is way busy off Earth doing some Justice League Infinite kind of, crazy shit, and doing other things. Like, there's a lot of things that are going on that Superman is doing that are taking him away. So, of course, Jonathan has to take up the mantle of Superman for Earth, for the people of Earth. And he is similar. He's raised by two amazing people. One of them is Lois Lane, who is an extremely socially conscious person who is a champion for the little guy. And Superman, of course, has always been a champion for the little guy. Yes, it's been used for patriotic reasons, the American way, added sometime in the 50s or during World War II or something, and dragged out every once in a while. But he's always been a champion for the little guy, for social justice. And here's Jonathan Kent being that champion, being, not afraid to be arrested or be, kind of putting himself out there in a way that is controversial. And so now, if you want to look at his personal life, he's met somebody who's a cool friend, also kind of a journalist. So probably, is like, hey, I dig that kind of person. My mom taught me that those people are really awesome and cool, and we share a lot of the same ideals, and you're kind of cute. Why not develop the character in a way that allows him to show that he has, he can have this type of relationship with, with another young man. And he's bi, doesn't really have any kind of romantic connections I can think of at all, period, before this. So
yeah, Saturn Girl and Legion.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But even then, that was kind of like, well, it can never really happen because I got to go back to, to my time at some point. But it's just, it gives a really interesting dynamic to this character that allows him to really speak for or be a symbol for young people who are now seeing a Superman that is now part of the LGBTQ spectrum, and it's very cool. It is not Superman Kal-El. It is not Clark Kent, but Jonathan Kent is an amazing character in his own right, and I think he's being written very well. And I'm really excited to see where the character goes, where this relationship goes, and it's cool. But yeah, the Shriekosphere really was out in full strength, and I'm not going to take credit for the Shriekosphere. That was I think Andrew Wheeler might have mentioned that in one of his Twitter posts, but I'm like, that's perfect. It's a perfect description of just the instant like, how dare you take this thing that I have absolutely no connection to, and
well, that's always going to be their response. Right. I mean, that's always what they're going to default to. And that's where I say it wouldn't matter if DC hadn't have done the headlines, Superman is bi. It would not have mattered if DC had said, Jonathan Kent, the son of the original Superman, is bisexual and gave the tagline.
Yeah.
These people are going to use this as a platform to complain and grift because that's all they do constantly, no matter what happens. It's a bad faith argument. Like flat out.
They've got their agendas. Yeah. They have to push their agenda.
They normally have no clue what they're talking about, but it always defaults to one of two conversations. When you take a character that exists and you broaden the scope of that character to show them being bi or lesbian or gay or trans, it's, just make new characters if you want, stop ruining the characters we grew up with. And then you make new characters like Wiccan, Hulkling, like America Chavez, like half of the Young Avengers, Midnighter, Apollo, Batwoman, Kate Kane, all of these, which is technically a legacy character, but I digress. You take all these characters who you invented to be gay, and then all of a sudden it's the same arguments. Like it's the same, you're just corrupting kids. You just have a liberal agenda, yada yada. So it's just a bad faith argument by bad faith people who have no other platform to do on. That's all they know. That's all they can do is dabble in the culture war. Everything is projection with them. It's it's the idea of like the thing that they love to complain about the most is quote unquote identity politics, but that's all they have. That's all that they can muster up the ability to rage against is identity politics. And to what avail? I mean, like these people they have no values and they have no nothing dear that they hold, so they just rage against anybody who's not like them. And then you have the same group of people who like to point to stuff like this, and they say, well, look, this is why comics are dying, and look at the manga market, how much they're selling. And I'm just like, have you read manga? Manga's gay as fuck. Like
one of the best selling genres is like yaoi. Like yaoi is a huge selling. You
have manga, which is extremely a lot of the work goes towards women. A lot of it is written towards young girls, more so than American comics are. It's hella gay, and so, like all of these are just bad faith arguments for people who are, like you said, in the Shriekosphere. But hey, look, I'm the type of person. Give them what they want. If they want Superman to love Lois Clark or Lois Lane, and so that's where I'm like, hey, DC, go for the gusto. Like, go for it. If they're going to complain anyway, then make Clark Kent suck a dick. Like just go for it. Why not? Because they have
page 13, Action Comics.
They're going Clark to do it anyway. And all they do is show off their ridiculousness. And the hilarious thing is today, right now, you can get on Twitter, and the same people who are screaming about this are right now going insane because DC has sent out something to their freelancers saying, hey, if you do work with / partner with / show up on some of these live streams with the CG crowd, you're not going to work for us. Like DC sent out that memo. probably based on the fact that the colorist for the Superman book made a really shitty comment on Twitter the other day about how he had a good conservative wife and how there were no feminists in his house and it was haram to be a feminist. I have no idea. So it probably is what led to this. But so those people who are the ones that hate mainstream comics, who are constantly saying that, that queer identity and that, quote unquote liberalism in comics are destroying the market, and how they don't need the market and they can go off here in their little hole and do their own thing, are now losing their shit because they realize that they'll never have a job in this world, and they're facing the consequences of their actions, and let them have it. Like that's always going to be my stance, is give them what they ask for, because they're not going to like it.
Yeah. Well, you guys have basically said it all. In terms of the Dean Cain thing, I just find it exceptionally sad that, it falls to actors who are the biggest custodians of this myth that we have. It's Superman and Batman, Spider-Man. They're a modern mythology. They've advanced to that level in our culture, and anybody who's been the custodian of that, I think, should be held to a bit of a higher regard when discussing that mythology. So his commentary about, does he do anything about human trafficking? Do you really think any conception of Superman would turn a blind eye to human trafficking? You understand this character before you talk about it.
Well, it wasn't
anybody
should be able to do that.
Wasn't it just like 2 issues prior, issue number 2 or 3? And I try to remember here, wasn't that just addressed? Like he's Jonathan Kent is already, working on climate change. Forest fires caused by mutant in the, or not a metahuman in the first issue. And also the, just the idea of a military industrial complex. He's already working on that.
Yeah.
This is all stuff that Superman does. And so to
but
have some kind of stupid argument like that is ridiculous.
We have to get to some other stuff, but I would just like to refer to people to an excellent article in Dead of Geek by one of their founders about this and how this is so much in line with the original conception of the Superman character. Really excellent article. And how cool was it to see Tom Taylor on CNN?
I love that.
That was pretty cool.
And before we move on, though, I just like you were saying, actors, the craft of acting is essentially rooted in empathy, and it's really sad to see actors who have played these characters just show a complete lack of empathy, or a complete lack of being able to empathize. I mean, folks like Kevin Sorbo included in that. But if you want to see a good example of an actor who plays a hyper masculine character, there was an interview or a web show put out with John Bernthal, who played the Punisher this week, where he really talks about raising his children to be empathetic people, and how we, that is a masculine trait, and caring and loving people who are different than you is what it means to be I'm going to use air quotes, to be a man, and how these people miss that point. So look that up. John Bernthal just completely killed it. With what he said.
We have a couple comments here. David with it's textbook whataboutism to say, what about human trafficking or Iran? And then Hassan Thalji.
Hey, son.
He wasn't a good actor to begin with, and I can agree with that. I mean, hey, I grew up with the Adventures of Lois and Clark, and I had a crush on Dean Cain. I will not lie. Like him shirtless back in the early 90s, like thick and meaty. Yes, very nice. But that's not what he represents.
Just didn't have that.
Yeah,
like he just kind of.
And also, I've also heard from people who've worked with him that there's a perception that this right-wingism is just a matter of keeping his name in the news.
I'm sure
that there really isn't too much conviction in that arena.
He's the Scott Baio of Kevin Sorbo's.
Yeah. He is a Scott Baio of Kevin Sorbo. I mean, his career really hasn't gone to the heights that I'm sure he would have hoped after such a big, television hit. And he has had parts in current Superman related franchises. He's been in Supergirl. He played
So it's Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah.
So
which I got to give credit. I think Hassan's the one who came up with the he's the Scott Baio of Kevin Sorbo. I think it was Hassan who said that the other day.
Thank you, Hassan.
There's some people like Baio and James Woods that I do think fervently believe in what they're saying, and I don't necessarily even watching him get that vibe from Dean Cain. So in some ways is even more reprehensible.
Kevin Sorbos?
Which in some ways is even more reprehensible.
Say la vie.
Yeah.
Not even Dean Cain gives a shit about what Dean Cain thinks. So just stop interviewing him.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to do something a little bit different here. We have some comic books to talk about, but for the first two, we're all going to talk about them because we have all read them. Now, what do you guys want to do? Start with the independent project, or do you want to start with the big two seismic events crushing one? I leave it up to you. What?
Let's do the big two. The big two.
Okay,
first.
Cool. Let's do that. And the book we were talking about is the first issue of Inferno.
And of course, I forgot to bring my copy with me, but I'm holding it up in spirit.
Sure. Okay. All right, Steve, tell us about Inferno.
Some stuff happened in this little crossover this little event called House of X, Powers of X, which led to the whole Krakoan saga that we're currently in the middle of. And one of the setups from that centered around Moira McTaggart. She is revealed to be a mutant with the power of reincarnation, and that when she dies, her entire consciousness, all of her memories, personalities, everything that she's learned from her lifetime is then reborn yet again back in the past. So it's not just reincarnation, but reincarnation right back and resetting the entire timeline. And in that journey that she had, the multiple times that she died and was reborn, one of the things she tried to do in one of her lives was cure the mutant gene, basically to create a cure for mutant kind. And when she had done that, it was discovered by Mystique and her wife, Destiny. Destiny, of course, who has the power to see not just the future, but possible futures. And her encounter with Moira was a huge seminal moment for Moira McTaggart. So from that moment, her kind of perspective changed a little bit, where she started looking at for ways to save mutant kind, and eventually that's what we got with Hoxpox and the Krakoan island nation of mutants and everything that's happened since. But one thing that she has not changed in all of those subsequent lifetimes is her burning hatred for Destiny. Her one main rule, she's had a couple other ones, but her one main rule was, I will do everything to make sure that the mutants will survive, that this will be successful, but you may never bring Destiny back. And what does Mystique want to do up to this whole point? Of course she wants to bring her wife back, and is being stonewalled at every turn. And she doesn't know why, and obviously the only two people who do know, other than Moira, Charles and Magneto, well, they're not going to tell her, obviously. And that, of course, is leading to a lot of tension. And that's kind of the whole background and setup of this book. In fact, you do get a essential reprint of several of those pages from Hoxpox that deal with Moira's encounter with Destiny. There's also a lot of tie-in here with what's going on with Orcus, the sort of mutant, anti-mutant human super tech project, army, terrorist group, whatever you want to call them, who are currently orbiting the sun with a master mold, and the reincarnated Nimrod, who's been combined with the main intellect of one of their head scientists. So yeah, there's a lot that's going to happen here. And this kind of this issue kicks off the whole thing, and it is a huge issue. I think flipping through it, at least 48 pages, if not more.
Are all the issues going to be oversized?
I don't know. It would be a very expensive event title if so, because I think they're all like $6 or $7 a piece.
$6, yeah, $5.99.
Yeah, but it's a lot of story and a lot of great art, a lot of stuff shoved in there. So,
but to that end, this is also the bookend.
Most importantly,
this is the bookend to Hickman's, to his work on the X-Men that we know of, as far as like what he's writing on the page. So I could very well see it being each issue being oversized, and essentially to give us the same page count that they gave us in Hoxpox at the end of it. So you would have a giant hardcover of Inferno to match that hardcover of House of X Powers of 10 to bookend the work with. Like that would make sense to me. I don't know if that's what they'll do, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, that 125 page, $125 omnibus is definitely coming for this. I can tell you that. That's not even, not a question. But yeah, no, I mean, I really enjoyed it because it did feel very much like, like a bookend or a continuation straight off of Hoxpox. I mean, obviously everything that's happened in between has happened. And that's referenced in ways here, but I mean, you could probably read Hoxpox and then pick up Inferno #1 and know where you are.
There's a little bit.
I have a bit of a disagreement with that. As somebody who's only stayed with the X-Men title, I was with New Mutants for a time, and somebody gave me codes for another series that I just haven't read yet. And I did read all of Ten of Swords or Cross of Swords or X of Swords, how the hell you want to, whatever parlance you want to use there. There were things that I felt that if I had been reading things like Hellions and Marauders, particularly when you had the meeting of the captains, that I felt I probably would have had a more enriched experience if I had stayed with all the titles, if I had read all the titles. That's the way I felt.
I mean,
there's a lot of things that it didn't feel as comfortable an entry point as Hoxpox was.
Yeah. Well,
again, Hoxpox was also, like a leveling of the state. It seems that there should be some correlation when you are providing the denouement to it. So I don't know. I did feel that it wasn't as inviting as it could have been. Yeah.
So there is a lot that's summarized very quickly, especially when talking about the attacks on Orcus, because it is part of Hoxpox. That sort of like that setup of them trying to destroy Orcus, but there's or at least introducing Orcus anyway. But they do sort of go through the list, and several of those things that they mention we've never seen.
Okay.
And it's just basically them saying, well, they've attacked 40 some times, and this is what happened with all these attacks. And look at all these adamantium skeletons from Wolverine that we have collected. Because when he dies, his skeleton's still there because it's just adamantium. And it's like it's a very, very quick way of saying a whole bunch of stuff's happened since Hoxpox. But ultimately, here's what you need to know to understand what's going to happen in Inferno. At least that's the way I took it.
Has Moira been a presence at all between these two?
No.
I know at one point we were supposed to get the Moira X miniseries, and that never materialized, and they never revealed who the big writer was who was supposed to do that. So I didn't know if there was any fill-in with that. And I'm trying also to remember when they did talk about Moira not necessarily being immortal, that she had 10, maybe 11 lives. Was that delivered by Destiny. In Hoxpox?
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
That was okay. So that was another. I clearly remember that being something that was a pronouncement in that first series. I just didn't know if it was Destiny that delivered that news. I just couldn't remember.
Yeah, and the thing behind that is that's why Destiny can't come back, because Destiny's powers make her the only person who can see what Moira's doing and what Moira's coming. And Charles and Eric both are convinced. I mean, they're running out of options. They are both convinced that the problem and the reason that Moira's thing, like whatever, keeps failing, which will lead to the inevitable heat death of the universe, is that she's out in the open, and they need to keep her hidden. And we've only seen Moira. Since Spock a handful of times. She has shown up in X-Men, and I think one of the other titles where Charles and Eric will actually go into the bubble and they'll go talk to her, and they all just have this little bitch fest about what somebody's not doing. You're not doing this right. I'm not doing that right, and they're holding her hostage. But yeah, this is the inevitable end game that they've been building up to, and I can't wait. I do want to say, we've talked a lot about the plot and the characters. I was a little bit, I don't know if bummed is the right word, but when I saw that Pepe Larraz wasn't doing the art for Inferno, knowing that this was the bookend, I was kind of bummed. Yeah, I was kind of like, oh man, that sucks, because Pepe is a beast. Like, Pepe Larraz is gorgeous to look at. But I got to give credit where credit's due. Valerio Schiti looks amazing. This is the best I've seen Schiti look ever. He leveled up with this work, and drawing the number of characters that he draws is insane.
And some of those sequences, I mean, I don't want to give away what she says, but when we do have Emma make her first appearance wearing something she's not known for wearing and saying what she's saying, I mean, that's just one of those perfect marriages of artist and writer, and boy, that was like one of those like moments when I was reading it. Yeah.
And there were some good moments. It wasn't all, the last 3 pages of reveal and like just before that 45 pages of filler. Yeah. There was a lot of stuff happening in this book.
The only thing I have to say, who knows how it's going to unravel, but I kind of got more of an Empire than a Return of the Jedi feel to it. Partly because everything's going to shit in certain aspects. That it just the feel was, I don't know, didn't have to be as bleak as it felt or something, because there's beautiful imagery through a lot of it, no matter what's being said. I don't know. I'm definitely in for it. I got to know how the hell this happened, how this unravels, but it didn't have it. I don't know. I was expecting a different vibe to come off the pages than I got.
Well,
it almost feels like it's going to lead to 1,000 more unresolved plot points, which might be a tribute to Claremont, but
and sometimes Hickman.
And sometimes Hickman. Yeah.
The one thing that
I was expecting a different feel to it when I was reading it. Yeah.
The one thing that's always confused me about the Destiny Moira plot point is, why the fuck is it a problem? If Moira is doing something, as far as she knows, is going to save... Oh, I'm frozen.
Well, we can still hear you.
We can hear you. It'll probably come back. It'll probably catch up.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay, cool. There we go.
Now you're moving. Yeah.
If she can see the future, and Moira is working really hard to make this future for mutants happen, is the fear here that Destiny is such a nihilist that she's going to want to destroy any possibility of mutants surviving? Or is she just like doom and gloom? She's going to sit there and say, well, we're all going to die someday, so we might as well just let the whole thing blow up. Like, I'm kind of confused there, because I would think that Destiny and Moira would be perfect working together, especially because Moira finally learned her freaking lesson. But at the same time, I understand that Moira's like, I fucking hate Destiny. I don't want Destiny anywhere near me. Bitch, burn me alive. Like, I don't.
Well, I was going to say, what she had Pyro do to her, and
I get
the dialogue with it was, I wouldn't take kindly to it.
And I get that, but Destiny,
But it also doesn't seem to be. It also doesn't seem to be the motivation behind that.
Yeah,
and maybe maybe we haven't seen something.
It's possible.
It's very possible.
But I'm just sort of thinking, like, don't you want to have, if you're trying to build a future-proof society here, wouldn't you want somebody who can see the future and can tell you, don't do that, because then this will happen. Let's try something different. That's just me.
Again, there were like a lot of like, do we care about Black Tom? I didn't understand what that bit was about.
I like Black Tom. I think I
didn't understand why that was important. Why they dedicated 2 pages to that.
Probably to remind us that he's still there. But that he does have a lot of importance, but not necessarily the importance that because he just made an appearance in the latest issue of Wolverine as well.
It just seemed a strange inclusion. And
but he was that throws back to Hawkspox. Like, Black Tom is apparently one of the he's one of the super meta mutants. Like
the Omega level.
Yeah, I forget what exactly like what exactly his importance is, but apparently Black Tom is like an elemental that, like, they raise the bar on what he is and his importance to the music to the mutants. I'd have to go back and revisit it. I'm not 1,000% sure why, but he is much more important in Hickman's mind as far as the gravitas of the mutants go than what he's ever been before. It's kind of like, I guess, with the 5 or the 6 or whatever they are that like bring people back. He is like integral to them surviving.
I think part of it is he maintains Krakoa when Krakoa can't, be. Krakoa is everything, but doesn't always know what's going on. On itself, I guess. And so Black Tom just kind of is the interpretation of I feel it, like in Wolverine, it's like there's this weird sort of dead spot around this area, and then it turns out that's where I forget his name from Arico has been hiding out, essentially.
Yeah.
It's one of the gates. And he's been sort of creating this sort of bubble where Krakoa can't even sense that there's something amiss there. But Black Tom can, because he knows that, hey, I can look for something that isn't there that should be there. But I don't know. That is a good question. I don't know if it might be kind of the attempt to tie together a whole bunch of things that were important in Hawkspox and kind of petered off a little bit. And now trying to bring it back.
Yeah, because that's not a character I've heard one bit about in the interim. So I just found that strange.
He pops up, but not as much as you would think a super important character would.
All right. Well, I don't have much to say beyond that. Ooh, I just hit my laptop.
Whack!
Someone used their Omega level mutant powers on me and disrupted the show. Okay. But yeah, we will stick with it and we'll talk about it as it transpires. You just go over to the next book, Steve. Let's hear about a thing called theft. Yep.
Yeah. So a thing called truth. So we were contacted by Yola Zanfordino. Also wrote, and I'm frozen again. Dang it.
Just keep talking because we can still hear you. Just don't worry about that. Can you
still hear me at least?
Yep. We can still hear you. Just keep going.
Okay, that's good. Okay, good. Because we've been talking about Alice in Leatherland, which was her and Elisa Romboli's last book, which was amazing and wonderful, put out by Black Mask. Well, they have a new book coming out from Image. It drops, I believe, the first Wednesday in November, I think it is. And it's called A Thing Called Truth. And I do have the cover to share here. So we can take a look at that, because it isn't out yet, but we were able to read an early there we go. An early preview edition of it. So A Thing Called Truth here. It's again put out by Image. Very, very cool. I really enjoyed this book. The basic premise of it is a German doctor, Dr. Mag Troimer, has developed some kind of polymer or some kind of material that would be perfect for medical devices, and especially for lower income parts of the world, or parts of the world with with not a lot of access to the type of materials that would be needed for medical technologies. And so this would be, world changing. Well, unfortunately, some things happen, and it looks like her invention is being taken away from her. And this is, of course, devastating. So this issue really sets up kind of the potentially devastating consequences of what happens when this very tightly wound and very passionate doctor is basically thrown out into the woods, so to speak, without any kind of hope to get her invention back. And along the way, she does meet this other character here, who in the first issue is not yet named, but obviously will become an extremely important part of this miniseries. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. There's some really great dynamic moments that really show off the art. And let me see if I can show one of the pages, one of the available preview pages on image.com right now that you can see. This is very early in the book, where there's a big car chase. This opening,
it's Thelma and Louise without being Thelma and Louise somehow.
Exactly. It gave me
wonderful
Thelma and Louise, super Thelma and Louise. I love that.
As you got through the story, you know how far away from that dynamic it is. Yep.
Yeah.
We're still this early on. You're introduced to what's going to happen, but let's see how you get there. So that first issue really, really gives you the background on Mag Troimer, who's the character with the glasses, and really shows you who she is, like her life and everything. So it's a different feel from Alice in Leatherland. And I know, Caleb, you had been reading it, and Bill, did you read Alice in Leatherland?
Yeah, I did a show with you on it.
I know.
All right.
Did you read the whole?
Yes, I did.
Did you do one?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
and I also appreciated the different areas of terrain that this covered.
Yeah.
From that, this isn't nearly as highly sexualized.
Not yet, but maybe.
Not yet. But I don't think that would have had a place for the story that she appears to be trying to provide here.
Well, yeah, and I think that speaks to the flexibility that she has as a writer. I mean, she's able to dabble in different worlds and different genres and do things. And from a craft perspective, that's, some people can't do that. Like they have to stick to the same tones and the same themes over and over again. And this is, like you said, this is tonally way different than what Alice in Leatherland was. And it also played on a couple of different dynamics too that I thought that was really great. I mean, there's obviously this capitalist slant talking about how company and organization will take over and take away the ability to give a cheaper, better product to people if they can make a profit from it. But at the same token, the main character's life is kind of falling apart. And there's all of these things going on behind the scenes that she's having to deal with that are like real life things that professionals have to do with. And you can have these earth-shaking world giant conglomerate government things happening over here while you have these, seemingly personal, minute type of things happening over here, and they play off each other. And I thought that was really
and I just thought she illustrated so well that she is not an innocent in this. Right. She should have been more proactive on the corporate side. She certainly should have been paying better attention to the relationship that we had, and that as a backdrop to the professional side, I thought was just tied in so wonderfully. And she's so good. She's such a good writer.
And I love that in this, kind of going back to the art too, because the writing I love, and really seeing Meg, Mag just really kind of getting Mag's her background and her ideas and where she is in her life, like really on the page. But one thing that this book does that Alice in Leatherland didn't have so much is color. And it's interesting how Elisa's artwork really does shine. It comes through with the coloring. And I didn't write down who did the colors for it, but I think they do a great job in complementing the artwork here, which is really great. Because it's fun. Like there's a very joyful exuberance to the art, and I was kind of worried a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, that after Alice in Leatherland, which really let the art speak for itself with shading and a very judicious use of 2 or 3 very primary basic colors with the peach and the gray, that this might just make it too splashy, but no, I was wrong. I think it's great. So it very well works, but I'm really excited to find out more about the second character, and the first issue does not do that.
I'm interested in finding more about the main character too. We don't have a full palette, and just the type of person that would end up in this predicament and how she would react to the other cat. Oh, I really like this book. Let's just put it that way.
Although I do love Drunk Mag.
Yes. And I think when you were reading that sequence, we've all been Meg, and we've all also been the bartender.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then also just as a quick little thing too, the last name Troimer, for those of you who speak German, means dreamer. Mm-hmm. So, or no.
I did do a quick look up. Yeah. It's November 3rd that this
November 3rd. Yes, so the first Wednesday.
And though this is in advance with the schedule that I have with putting out the audio episodes, it might be out.
I'll be right on time.
Oh God!
I just looked through the PDF, the preview that we got, and it doesn't. In what we have, it doesn't have the colorist listed. I'm sure it will. It may. I mean, the colorist may be the
artist. Yeah.
Yeah. It may be Lisa Ramboli may be doing the colorist as well.
Which would be very cool. But I like this. I think this is pretty cool that they're able to do this through Image as well.
Yes.
This might
feels like
a couple other books,
and it feels like a gloriously Image book, a gloriously post Valentino as editor-in-chief Image book. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. So,
it's a strong first issue. Really strong.
Very strong. Yep.
Yeah.
And just so many hooks to keep you in.
Mm-hmm.
It's really impressive. Yeah. Okay, we got a couple other books to talk about, so we'll do a little bit of a roundtable before we wrap up the show. So, Steve, tell us about another book that you read that you enjoyed.
Well, I'll try to go a little bit quicker with this one.
Steve Power Hour.
Yeah, because I've spoken way too much. But anyway, so my issue is Turbo Kid, Apple's Lost Adventure #1. This came out last month. And it's written by RKSS, which I'm sure is short for something. I have no idea. And drawn by Yike Dion. And it's put out by Behemoth. This book, just the design of this book is fantastic. It strikes me very much like an interesting zine. And I know that's the point that they kind of went for, but it's really good. The designer on this one, or production, is Rob Cannon. Did a great job. So Turbo Kid, this is a prequel of a sorts to a little film that came out in 2015 called The Adventures of Turbo Kid, which let me see if I could find how much it was made for. It was literally ridiculously cheap to make. I think it was just over $60,000 to make this film. I loved it. This movie is every 80s sort of like sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, youth-centered adventure where a kid, somehow makes it on his own in a savage land, and also, beats a big warlord using superpowers of some sort. It was just fantastic. It was crazy. The soundtrack is absolutely amazing. Check out the movie if you have a chance to see it. Sometimes it's on Amazon, sometimes not, but if you can find it, definitely watch it. Turbo Kid. But anyway, this takes place prior to the film itself. In fact, it refers to a music video that was also made in promotion of the film, where Apple who is one of the main characters from the movie, is going around with her best friend through the wasteland, and her friend, unfortunately, is not doing super well because of radioactive fallout and whatnot. And she goes through trying to help him, survive and stay positive because she's a very bubbly person. Unfortunately, her friend dies, and she doesn't realize it. She just thinks he's sleepy. And so she kind of stays with him for a long period of time, trying to get him to eat and feel better as he slowly decomposes and becomes a desiccated corpse. But that's because Apple is a very special person, and I don't want to ruin too much about it. If you see the movie, you will understand. But yeah, it's a great introduction to the character and to this world. Kind of explains the whole Turbo situation and the Wasteland situation, but also shows how much of a badass Apple can be when she's a little mad. And it also includes a little back matter story called the Rat Story, where a little nuclear waste rat is trying to get some food and ends up food himself in a very, goofy, gross, but also kind of cute and sad story. Anyway, very enjoyable. If you can find this, definitely pick it up. Put out by Behemoth, Turbo Kid, Apple's Adventure. And there are going to be a couple more issues in the series, but definitely if you can find issue number 1, grab it. And if you can watch the movie, watch it.
Okay, over to Caleb. Caleb, tell us about a book you're reading, you're digging.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the new number 1 that came out, I want to say not this past week, but 2 weeks ago. And it comes from our friends over at Aftershock. And the book is, number 1, it wins the award for best title because it's called Chicken Devil. For no other reason than it wins that. Also because I have a crush on the artist. Hayden Sherman's cute. So, not, if he hears says, hey, so what? But no, so this is written by Brian Buccellato, and Hayden Sherman does the artwork with Hassan Otsmane Alaho on the letters. Really, really fun story. When I first heard about this and I heard the premise of it, I almost passed on it and probably would have hadn't have been for Hayden Sherman being on the art. Big fan of his from books like The Few, Mary Shelley Monster Hunter. He's been on a lot of great things. And the reason I would have passed on it because it kind of sounded a little bit derivative. So, drug runners using a chicken place to smuggle their stuff sounds a lot like something I saw in Breaking Bad. But the great thing about this book, and I'm glad I took a chance on it, is it's very self-aware. In fact, they even make a Breaking Bad reference on here just to really drive the point home. And so the story it's really clever. It's really fun. You have this guy who is trying to do right. He's just a businessman. He owns a chain of hot chicken places that he's like designed and built the pressure cooker that makes the chicken. So it's very proprietary. He gets a phone call one day when he's dealing with his family. He's got 2.5 kids that are just bugging him. One of them wants to go to Coachella, but she's 15. The other one just wanted to go get like something from Sonic and would promise that he would get to and didn't get to go. And like a wife who's like, we have to book our vacation, be home tonight. So multitasking and family stuff. At the same time, his phone goes off and it's his business partner saying, hey, like, you got to get down here now. I don't have time to wait on you. We've got to do this now. Well, he gets down to one of the shops and it's caught on fire. There's been a blaze. And it's damaged equipment. It's damaged their chicken uniforms. And like the guy gets in there and he's talking about what it is. And of course the owner, our main character, is freaking out because his business caught on fire. The other guy's a little bit more flighty. He's just like, no, like it's fine. Don't call this on your insurance. Actually, you know what? We all need to take a cruise together right now. You need to get your family and we're going to go get on this yacht and we're going to go away right now. We have to do this right now. And if it sounds shady, it's because this dude had organized crime ties and was moving drugs through this chicken establishment. And now the people who own the drugs and want to get paid are pissed and they want their money. So they come in and, break kneecaps and do a lot of shit. So from there, the story goes on. They try to get out. Things happen that, set them back, set the family back, the man back, and put him on a path for some really tragic and comedic vengeance, so to speak, wherein he kind of gets turned into a John Wick figure in a chicken costume. It's like I said, it's comical and tragic all at the same time. It was a ton of fun. It's one of the so when Aftershock first came out, I was all in, like jumped in with both feet. Really loved them. There for a while, they hit a spot where some of the books just they weren't very kinetic. I don't really know. I can't explain it. Where they were just kind of lackluster or lukewarm. Other people might have loved them. That's just my personal opinion. Not taking anything away from them. But this is fun. This is energetic. It's bright. It's beautiful. Like I said, I adore Hayden Sherman's art. If you've never seen him, you can go look up some of the other titles he was on. He's got a very loose line, and he doesn't get bogged down. He's not a Scrooge-esque type person. Doesn't get bogged down in filler, but very, very, very loose is the best way to put it. But in a great way. Like he's got complete control of it. He's putting things in just the right juxtaposition. His storytelling abilities in here are what really hit me off. I mean, you can see this is early on in the book, like a morning where he's making coffee, and the family they're harping on him, and kids are wanting to do one things, and it's a great way to introduce all the characters while also just showing you a day in the life. Really excellent sequential layouts. Just the way that he patterns the narrative is wonderful.
That perspective on the right page,
where he's looking down.
Oh my god, I love that. I just love that, the way he's composed it.
He plays with camera angles a lot. He's got a lot of that. So there's another page over here where it's from as if the camera's shooting up from below, where he uses some really, really interesting camera angles, for lack of a better word, to kind of set the mood, to show you what, just how chaotic this guy's life had just became, and how he is not equipped to deal with it at all. So go check this out. Brand new series, great spot to jump on. And like I said, just kinetic as hell. Really, really fun. Glad I grabbed it.
Cool. All right, cool. All right, for my book, I'm going to talk about something that's a bit more mainstream, but just by a bit. And I've been reading, since I read all the DC, I've been reading all the Black Label stuff. Mm-hmm. And this came out a month ago, and this is Suicide Squad Get Joker #2, which is written by Brian Azzarello with art by Alex Maleev. And most importantly, in my book, Matt Hollingsworth on colors. Oh my God. I'll talk about that. What we have in Suicide Squad Get Joker is a mission that's been put together by Amanda Waller, led by Red Hood. How we've never connected Red Hood with Suicide Squad before baffles me, because he's a perfect fit for that particular dynamic. And in the first issue, it's not a spoiler, it's been out for something like 9 weeks or at this point. Joker kills Amanda Waller, and he has what they're calling now the boombox, the control of the neck bombs for all of the Suicide Squad operatives. So that's problematic. And so Red Hood is leading this effectively ragtag team, and real like B-level players like Yonder and Plastique and Silver Banshee and Firefly. Harley's of course along for the ride, as you can see here. And what you expect to happen when they confront Joker about this in Gotham, it's actually a very calm exchange, which makes it even like 10 times even creepier. And they naturally play around with the Joker Harley dynamic, and Joker puts her in a situation and she effectively takes one for the team. Let's just put it that way. And shows, that she is very dedicated to this team, because it is degrading, the actions that she has to engage in. It's weird because this is not a lot happens. It's basically they meet up with Joker at a strip bar. That's basically most of the issue. But the tension behind that particular engagement is Azzarello is one of the few people I think that can really pull it off as well. As I had mentioned, I think the star here is Hollingsworth with the colors. Intense use of red and purple and pink, which are not colors you would necessarily associate with a Suicide Squad tale, though you would in regards to some of the principal characters. And this engages through the entirety of the story. And much like echoing the film that was released this past summer, turns out there's an A and a B team. And let me tell you, the B team, I'm just going to show them to you. That would kind of scare the shit out of me if those people were coming after me.
100%.
Yes. I mean, this is firepower. So I can't wait to see what happens in issue 3 on that basis, just for the, blood and guts kind of fun that Suicide Squad is known for at times. But really, really a much more complex unfolding of events than I was anticipating. I think if you went from the first issue, you would think it would be, guns and mayhem, and you don't really get that here. You get something much more psychologically unscrambling. It's the word that I just keep going back to is tension, and it does feel like a bridge issue. It feels, that now that we have this glimpse of this other team, it in retrospect feels like a bridge issue. But if you're going to do one, that you do one with that level of intensity, where the action is fairly static, but the emotions are not. It was just some very interesting choices. So, Suicide Squad, Get Joker #2 from DC Black Label.
Well, as Miss Coco Peru says, they just need some tension tama, and they'll be fine. Tension tama.
Oh, look at sleepy time. I don't know if you guys caught this. I'm known for my Powerade. Look at this. I got a little teeny tiny bottle of it. Isn't that cute as shit?
It's the mini size.
It's one of those things that gets one of those shortage items, like boxes. Look, Steve, look what I got to do here with my nice Silver Age books. I have a repurposed Amazon box just because.
How dare you!
I have to get more.
How dare you?
Yeah.
Do anything with repurposed boxes.
Yes. One bit of news, though, that there are going to be paper shortages. It seems that's unavoidable for about 3 or 4 months. And already you are seeing DC announced an upcoming issue of Flash. Many shops are going to be shorted. So we'll be interested to see how that unfolds.
Well, a lot fewer variants, I've noticed. In many cases, a lot fewer variants or a lot fewer copies of those variants.
I was going to say the latter because they don't seem to have closed that spigot. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, for DC, I'm used to seeing there's always like the 1 and the 2. You have the A and the B, but it seems like for a while they had C, D, E, F, G, whatever, all those ones. Now, if you're Valiant or if you're what's the other one that's Dynamite or something like that, I'm sure basically you're just going to still have your 57 different variants, but you're just going to have 10 issues of or 10 copies of each one.
Though you don't have them publishing as much Archie still.
True.
And out of the companies, Archie was probably the most effective, I think, creatively with a lot of their variant covers, but their publishing schedule in terms of periodical comics has retracted so much now.
Randomly, Sabrina the Teenage Witch came back out this past week.
I did see that.
I see Tom Kelly has interjected with not enough long boxes, not enough. I don't know about long boxes. I don't know. I gave up on them. I'm a short box guy.
Yeah. I agree with that too. Short boxes are good for me, especially because they are less heavy.
I can't do the long box workout. I can do the short box workout.
Oh,
I once ran from long boxes falling over on me in the bunker one time. That was scary.
Indiana Jones kind of situation.
Jesus. Oh, that was scary. And then I was looking oh my god, what bucks almost fell, because I was like, oh thank god, it was Battlestar Galactica. It was something that I really wasn't caring that much about.
There's somebody watching or listening who's like, but that's my pride and joy of my collection is Battlestar Galactica.
You were talking about the paper shortage, and if there has to be one, at least it's we live in a day and time where all we have to do is turn on our computer if we get shorted an issue. It's not the same, especially for those of us who like collecting and pulling stuff. But I would rather read a digital copy than not read a copy at all.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, let's hope it doesn't have to come to that.
Well, fingers crossed.
We all pre-order, so I think we're good. So
yeah.
So if there are copies out there, but things have happened. Things have happened in the past. Even it also looks like we're at week 2 with crappy shipping from Random House. Marvel titles.
The ongoing report on Bleeding Cool that just like every week they add more and more testimonials it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to chat with my LCS because I wasn't able to go last weekend, but when I see him this weekend, I'm just gonna I'm curious to see how bad it's been for him.
Yeah.
So, and again, Lunar never have any issues. So that sucks.
There's always issues. There's always issues some there, but when there's a prevalence of issues, that's when the articles need to be.
When it's like 75% of your books that are destroyed or unsellable, and you have to return them, and to return them is an ordeal that you wouldn't wish on your greatest enemy.
Yeah.
I think that there might be some problems with the customer service and
right.
Working in shipping, and logistics and transportation, I understand what they thought they could do.
Yeah.
And just didn't understand what was needed here.
Yeah. And didn't understand the clientele.
No.
Yeah.
Clearly.
That especially.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not talking Barnes and Nobles here. We're talking like hundreds upon hundreds of small essentially mom and pop shops
who can't absorb. They can't absorb even temporarily. They can't.
Yeah. Where Barnes and Noble working in the back with that, where you had like stacks of these books all need to be sent back because they're all damaged or whatever. It's like that could sit there for a month and nobody will care or bat an eye, but you can't do that with.
All right, but we're not going to end on a sad note like that. We're going to end on a more positive note. And the note that we're going to end on is a segment we call the Woofs of the Week segment. In the bear community, if you find a fellow attractive, you woof at him. We do something similar where we woof at a property, which might be a TV program or a film or a charitable initiative, maybe even a comic book, anything under the sun that we think you, fair listener or viewer, may be interested in sampling. I'll start as I always do with Steve. Steve, what is your woof of the week?
Well, going back to Caleb's birthday presents with the Sandman Omnibuses, there was a very recent miniseries. It was only 3 issues. Was a co-publication between DC and their DC Sandman Universe imprint and, not imprint, I guess, but DC Sandman Universe labeled, and IDW called Sandman and Lock and Key, Hell and Gone. And it was a crossover or a team up or whatever way you could put it between the Sandman concepts as well as Lock and Key. And it was just so gorgeously done. The art was beautiful. It was by Gabby Rodriguez, who did the art for the original Lock and Key series. Everything about it was fantastic. I mean, Joe Hill wrote it, but it made me cry multiple times. And for a Sandman story, that's what I expect. For a Lock and Key story, that's what I expect. I expect a lot of excitement, really cool, interesting concepts and characters. It made me so happy to read this 3-issue series in its entirety, and it just filled me with so much joy and happiness. This is the kind of thing that brings me back to original Gaiman Sandman, just with the feels and the impact, as well as Lock and Key, which of course has always been a good impact for me too. But putting those two together was a stroke of genius, and whoever came up with that idea, whether it was Joe Hill or some suit sitting in an office somewhere, that was amazing. So thank you. If you haven't read it, Sandman Universe and Lock and Key, Hell and Gone, 3 issues, 0, 1, and 2. Amazing.
Okay. That was my question. To let people know about the particular numbering. Was 0, 1, and 2.
0, 1, and 2.
And 0 is effectively reprints from the original series, but they're very much on point.
Yes, they're perfect. Yeah. If you haven't read much,
I didn't know anything about Lock and Key, but what I got from that 0 issue was more than enough to enjoy the series. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Looking forward to that. I have cover B, which is by J.H. Williams, which is just.
And that's the other thing too. The covers,
beautiful.
Covers are fantastic. I mean, the art's just fantastic. So.
Okay, cool. Good choice. All right, over to Caleb. Caleb, what is your wolf of the week?
So my wolf of the week actually goes out to a publisher. So it's October. It is the month to read the spooky and the scary and the creepy and the crawly. And there's one publisher right now that I think is doing that better than almost any other publisher in putting out horror/horror related books. And that is Vault Comics. Vault has just continually kept climbing the ranks and become one of my favorite smaller publishers out there right now. They've got books like The World of Darkness, Crimson Thaw. That is a werewolf-esque type story, a vampire story. They've got Vampire the Masquerade, which is based on the White Wolf games. They've got The Last Book You'll Ever Read, which is a new Cullen Bunn thing. And they've got a book that just wrapped up, The Autumnal, which is probably going to go on my best of list for the end of the year. Not to mention books like The Plot from last year. Just incredible, really well done. I saw a bunch of people were tweeting about it, tweeting about Vault Comics. And I saw one tweet from and I forget who it was, but it was from a very well-known writer, say essentially that, these are the type of stories that would have landed at Vertigo had Vertigo still existed. And now they're coming to Vault. So if that's the kind of stuff you're looking for and you want, it is there for you. I can't heap enough praise on this publisher. And all those titles, those are pull list titles for me. They're must reads, along with about a half a dozen other. I just signed up 3 more books from Vault on my pull list because I have money to do that. I don't have money. Don't tell my husband. So Wolf of the Week goes out to Vault Comics. You're doing a great job. Thank you. If any of the Vault folks are watching this, we'll tweet at you later. Just to let you know. But love it. You're doing fantastic work.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, my wolf of the week. I'm going to break from the mold here. I am not going to talk about a comic book. I am going to talk about a documentary series that just hit on HBO Max, and that is The Way Down: God, Greed, and the Cult of Gwen Shandling. Shamblin. And it is a documentary that is it's actually in 5 parts. We have 3 parts now, and then there's 2 parts that are going to air in 2022. And when I watched the series, I thought, God, there's more of the story to tell. And then I found out that there is more to come. Gwen Shamblin was the founder of the faith-based Weight Down workshop program, which combined born-again Christian theology with weight loss, and effectively had her own little cult going. And as with most cults, things happen, which involve, let's see how I can put what this involves with. Actors who played Tarzan. It involves abuse of children. It involves so much. I think if I say any more, it would be too much. But it held my interest. Let's say I was riveted for the 3 episodes that they did release so far. And, in this world where we have an abundance of true crime content out there, this was really hit the mark. It really did. And very excited about the additional 2 episodes about particularly the Remnant Fellowship and the plane crash. See, I threw something else out there. Tarzan, child abuse, and plane crash. You got to be interested. It writes itself, and it's real life because it did write itself. So, but again, that's The Way Down, a documentary series that is currently streaming on HBO Max. My Wolf of the Week.
Nice. I still need to watch it.
Yep. I haven't had a chance to yet. I want to.
And what's been the practice with me? I like that they've had these like 3 or 4 episode ones because I just devour them like that. Yeah. Like Lula Rich, like that was like between signing off of work and when dinner was ready. You know, it was kind of perfect. And this one's really well done. And when I got through the 3 episodes, I was like, God, there's more to this story. And then we had the tag. That there are 2 additional episodes happening next year. So, Wolf of the Week. All right. We're wrapping this one up. Again, we are the Comic Book Bears podcast. You can find us on Twitter and the Tumblr and the Instagram as Comic Book Bears. You can find us on the Facebook as Comic Book Bears podcast. If you want to write to us, please do so by sending an email to comicbookbears@gmail.com. If you want to listen to us, please download us through Apple Podcasts, listen to us through Stitcher Radio and many of the other podcatching platforms. And if you are seeing this through Facebook Live, thank you very much for staying with us through the evening. And if you're watching this a little bit later on our channel on YouTube, please subscribe and please leave a positive review if you enjoyed what you were seeing. And that's my spiel. Another one in the books there. We are not going to have a show next week, but we will have a show the following Thursday, certainly. And if there is something special between that period, we absolutely will let you know. We certainly have the background to do it. So,
drunk and streaming at 3 a.m. in the hotel room on Saturday.
I love Aquaman. I love why can't they do it right? I love Aquaman.
I got a comic. I can't find a comic.
No, I can't say, because look, I'm the first to admit, Drunk Bill has made a few appearances on the show. It's been a long, long time, but Drunk Bill's been there. And I think Brian's a little better at hiding it, but
way better. He's really good.
But I'm also
curling.
I'm also that ridiculously annoying happy drunk. Like you'll know if I'm drunk because in terms of like the texting, because I basically just tell other people how awesome they are for 2 hours. I'm a very happy drunk, and if we got to have a trait, that ain't a bad one.
True.
Apparently, on my birthday, I tried to argue with Roger that I wasn't drunk, and I was because I didn't.
I did. I used to do that all the time, and it always came up with the driving.
Yeah.
Because that bullshit, you always engage in that bullshit. I'm a better driver when I'm buzzed.
Yeah.
Oh
no, I was. Yeah, no,
I'm more attentive.
Well, so I've been on this new diet and cutting down calories, but one of the things I did was I quit drinking alcohol except for 1/2 nights a week where I just have a drink. So where not that I was rage drinking or anything, but I usually had a glass of wine every night or something. So now I've cut down my alcohol content to just one day. So we went to the concert the other night. I slammed 2 glasses of wine and a mixed drink and got obliterated.
When you were out of practice, oh my God. Just there've been 2 times where I went vegetarian, and the first time you eat meat after you haven't had that in your system, dear God in heaven, there ain't anything like a pain like that. Oh my God.
It jacks your whole system up.
So. Oh my God. Yeah.
Now, when we come back, will we all have seen Dune?
You guys might have. It's not very high on my priority list.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I'll be drunk reading Aquaman. I guess I don't know.
True. Well, there is that Aquaman cartoon too that's coming out. Anyway,
yeah.
Maybe we should. Maybe we should sign off.
I hate people. Let's just put it that way. I hate people. Just I hate that mentality where you complain about it so much. If you're not going to watch it, why complain about it?
Yeah.
The Shriekosphere. It's the Shriekosphere.
Yeah. But, sometimes it's also people I really adore who do that.
That's true. That's true.
Which is, that's a trait in them I don't appreciate.
Yeah.
But But we're not ending on a downer. No, it's all positive. And again, if you are coming to Baltimore Comic-Con, please look us up. And we'll see you next time. So until then, I'm Bill Zanowitz.
I'm Steve Morey.
And I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
You're going to hear a woof and an explosion. We'll be back real soon. Take care, everyone.
I'm going to miss you guys. Y'all be safe together. Hug each other.
We'll FaceTime you and